In our recent survey, several of you had placed in the selection loss, dealing with loss. And so I want to give you a couple of tools. Whether you're dealing with the loss of a loved one or a relationship or something that you once had solidly and then it was taken from you or cut off or somehow is no longer there. And I want you to apply this to yourself and to your children. So first and foremost, very first time I remember ever having a severe loss in my life, that's probably in the 7th grade, and a girl broke up with me. And I came home from up north to find out she had a new boyfriend. And that's a shocker, right? That's just a shocker. That was like, blew me away. And my dad noticed I was down and maybe a little depressed, and he's like, what's going on? I was like, so-and-so broke up with me. It's like, come on, let's take a ride. And we talked, and here's the steps he took me through, and I want to share them with you. He said, so what happened? I was like, so-and-so, she found a new boyfriend, blah, blah, blah. He goes, you're down about it? And I'm like, yeah. And he's getting me to explore the loss, and he's letting me kind of grieve a little bit, and I'm exploring this loss, and I'm finding out through his coaching that the sorrow that I'm going through is actually the seed to the healing. So then he said to me, he took me into the present. He took me out of the loss, and he asked me for a counter example. Basically, he said to me, he said, didn't something like this happen in the 5th grade? Remember, you had this girl's name all on your shoes. You wrote her name on your shoes and then she had another boyfriend. It's like, yeah, that did happen, and I kind of chuckled about it. So he took me to a counter example where I found peace in the presence. So he was kind of coaching me that, hey, your body, your brain has a way of working through this loss. Then he said to me this. He took me to the 3rd step, which is listing the qualities or the gifts that I got out of the relationship or from that person that you lost. And I started listing these qualities. It was just laughter, it was companionship, it was activities. So he says, so then he said, hey, if you when you think about those gifts and those qualities that came from that relationship, like the companionship, like the activities, like the laughter, what symbol comes to mind? What kind of do you picture? What is that? What is a symbol that's reminiscent of that? And then I had like a lion head ring, and I was like, it's kind of like a circle, like kind of like a band. He's like, oh, like that, like your lion ring. I'm like, yeah. And he goes, oh, all right. He goes, you ready to really go for it and get some healing done today? And I was like, yeah, I'm motivated. I don't want to be sad about this. I want to remember the qualities, and I want to have some symbol I can take from this and do something with it. And he said, so I want you to feel motivated, but I also want you to rely on your strength. You're the guy that was able to, have this relationship, or you were there for your the person that you're missing. You personally have a lot of strengths. But you also have a big heart. If you weren't hurt right now, it's this is indication of your heart, the heart you have. He says this generosity and this love that you have, we want you to be able to share the symbol of hope. So I want you to imagine there's a big bucket of just full of gold lion rings, and I want you to dip in there and grab a big handful, and I want you to share it with this this guy, this part of you that's really going through this loss. Really share it. And this part of you that already went through that big loss before in the present, with share it. And then the qualities, pour some more out for the qualities, all those qualities that these represent. Now I want you to notice this. As you share these rings, the barrel becomes fuller. It's overflowing. And I want you to share each part of this. Your motivated self, your strong self, your generous self. And all of a sudden, you look down as you've done this. Who in this circle needs more healing? If it's the part of you that's still grieving, I want you to take and give an extra handful or two of these rings that symbolizes the qualities that you gained. Well, I'll tell you, that's the long way around the block. But I felt very good after that meeting. Then, several years later, probably 10 years later, my dad passed away. This is my coach. This is the guy that I could go to with any problem in the world. This is the guy that taught me unconditional love. This is the guy that was there for me. And he passed away. I was 23 years old. And this was a big loss. And I was beside myself. I'm carrying this big loss. Look at my hands. I'm carrying this big loss everywhere I go. And they're like, what's wrong? I was like, oh, my dad died. And I'm dragging it through life. And a buddy of mine, he says to me, he said, set that down for just a minute. Shake it off. I was like, he asked me this. He said, think of somebody that you know still alive, you know still on the planet somewhere, but you know you'll never see him again. But every time you think of that person, you get a good feeling. You feel like that was a good relationship. And I was like, oh, okay. So I said, it's my buddy Jack. And I'm like, oh yeah. He's like, where do you sense that feeling? I said, right up here. Now notice, I'm carrying the loss of my dad way out here. I don't know what to do with it. It's too big to carry. My buddy said, so it's up here. You got a little, like almost like your brain's already set up a spot for people you're fond of that you won't see again. I said, yeah. He goes, well, why don't you take that big old loss of your dad and put him up in there as a person that you're very fond of and you probably won't see again. At least not for a while. And he said, you know what's even better? Why don't you kind of see him and your buddy Jack playing ping pong? And all of a sudden, man, I wasn't weighed down anymore. I didn't have to carry the big loss. I slid it in to the place that my brain already had set up for people I'm fond of. So 2 techniques. One is a long way around the block. It's a ceremony of exploring the loss. Presence in the peace in the presence. Find that counterexample you've already conquered before. List the qualities of that you really admired about that particular person or a relationship that was lost, and then come up with a symbol, and then get really motivated. Step into your strongest part of you, the most resourceful part of you, and then get on into the circle, center of the circle, and start sharing. Be generous. Share that symbol. For you, I've done this in a lot of different areas. I've done it with crosses. Everywhere I would go, I would give somebody a cross, because that was one of my symbols of hope. With the loss of my dad, bam, bam, bam. Let's give him a lot of crosses. Every time I shared it, I felt very good. Like part of me and part of him was being shared. So, hope this helps.